Instagram, we good? If I move Instagram over here, then the camera, the image works better. Okay, I'm gonna take my mask off so that the deaf community can read my lips because I can't sign fast enough. What a weird week. We got our shipment super late. Some of our books got damaged. If you got Immortal Hulk, Peach Momoko covers, I'm sorry. You're not getting it this week. We have to order replacements, and we're a little pissed about how that happened, how that went down. The shipping guy just looked me in the eye and put the box on their sides, and I'm not happy about that. So, do we have any pop culture news since yesterday? Loki was good, but we can't talk about it.
Apparently, there's a photo going around Andy and Hugh Jackman together, so people are the rumor train.
Who?
Right, Hugh Jackman with Kevin Feige.
Wolverine.
He released a picture of Wolverine with his claws out.
Oh, so we might be getting a new Wolverine thing from Feige.
Robert Downey Sr. passed away.
Oh yeah, Robert Downey Sr. died. Our condolences to Robert Downey Jr. And all the other surviving members of the family. It's sad. Anything else?
Loki episode 5.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss with Loki episode 5, but none of it we can do on stream because it came out this week. Sad face. We can talk about live. I'm not even going to talk about that if I'm honest.
Easter eggs or spoilers.
Yeah, we will leave all of that alone for next week.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Ooh.
Any other pop culture news that you can think of currently?
New Nintendo Switch.
Oh, the new Nintendo Switch was announced. The OLED. Yeah. No, it's not a Pro. It's just they have an OLED screen. So it's, I don't know. I tend to play my Switch docked, so that doesn't matter much to me. I'm still going to get it because it's a bigger screen.
Because
it's like the Stormtrooper look.
Well, the OLED is going to be better because look at the original Vita compared to the new one.
It's true. You know the one thing I did notice though, because I had both Vitas, and like the OLED was heavier, significantly heavier.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Black Widow theaters on Friday.
Black Widow theaters on Friday. Did you see that weird exchange where what's his name? The guy that played the villain in Blade?
Yeah,
was yelling at Scarlett Johansson.
He was getting on the whole Black Widow movie.
Is he? Yeah. What is his deal?
Saying that the movie's gonna suck and it's gonna do horrible, and I feel bad that Scarlett wasted her time and all this.
But you were in Blade, and well, I liked Blade. Blade was not as big a deal.
He was also in this other trash movie.
Yeah, SFW.
Is that what it was?
SFW. And honestly, I liked SFW. I like that guy. I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah, but
though.
that movie didn't make anywhere close to
No, and you shouldn't be talking that way. You are an art house guy compared to like Scarlett Johansson.
That movie hit $4 million out of its $12 million.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I shouldn't judge, but that guy seems like an idiot.
Yeah.
But whatever. We saw that happen on Twitter, and that's that.
The best thing about Blade was just Wesley Snipes, and somehow that charisma he had to make those one-liners like, that doesn't make sense, but I like it.
Wesley Snipes and Whistler, I think both of them together were such a good combination.
Yeah.
I love those characters. Anyways, so I guess we should get to the reviews. We had our shipment divided up into 2 shipments. So you got some of DC yesterday, and I hope you enjoyed that. That was the weirdest stream I think we've ever done. And today we're gonna do Marvel, and hopefully it's infinitely less weird, but we'll wait and see. First book is Wells, Antonio, and Burita, and we're talking about Hellions. Now, we called this a while ago at what was the contest name? Exoswords. During Exoswords, we saw Mr. Sinister. Something happened, and we called for a while that Mr. Sinister is not the same Mr. Sinister that was on Araco. I was correct, and I'm happy to say I was correct in that, and I called that months back, and I'm happy it turned out that way. However, I got to tell you, Mr. Sinister definitely stabs himself in the back constantly, and it's something that we just should expect, and I never quite do, and I think I never do because I'm a Multiple Man fan, and Jimmy Madrox he will occasionally stab himself in the back, but it's not quite like that. Like Mr. Sinister is a jerk to himself. Probably worst of all. You're going to see that in this book, and it's honestly great. I had a really good time with it. It's weird to say because Hellions is a book that it has not been my favorite of all the X books. In fact, I think it's been my least favorite. Yet I had a really good time with this one and the issue before, so don't skip them. They're amazing.
It was between that and New Mutants and Excalibur.
That New Mutants and Excalibur.
It was between those three that you were like kind of like,
I think Hellions was the worst for a while. At least the first 6 issues. It really was. Now it's a little bit better. Next is the weirdest of books that I had a really good time with, actually. Higgins, Watanabe, Williams, and Cowles. Oh, Dennis Cowles is on this. No wonder I like the art. Huh. This is Ordinary Gods. Now, I'm going to tell you that I like this book. The art was good. The story was good. I had a good time with it, but it feels really familiar. So let me spell this out to everybody in the shop. There are people who are gods living amongst humanity that don't necessarily know they're gods, but there are prophecies before that, and they're trying to bring about the end of the world. It's very kind of American Gods, Wicked and Divine. It feels like something we've seen before, and yet had an amazing time with it. It took a couple twists and turns that I didn't expect with a rather grand betrayal that was a bit shocking. But they're building towards, hey, there's gods here, and the gods need to rise up and destroy the world. Why? I don't know why. Just because it's got to happen, I guess. But the story's really fun, actually. The dialogue's really good. The art is great. I'm going to say that it's not my indie pick of the week, but it's close. It was pretty darn good, and I would skip it if I were you. Next is Scott Snyder, Tony S. Daniel, and Tom Amori, and we're talking about the amazing, the magnificent Noctera. Now, Noctera is just a weird, dark, apocalyptic story where basically, by dark, I mean like the sinister things hide in shadows and humanity has to live in enclaves that are lit up constantly. And the creatures that come out in the darkness are really, really creepy. And they're trying to get to the bottom of everything and figure out who tainted the world this way and how they can counter it. And there's a couple betrayals. But this Noctera run is just nonstop fun and nonstop action. Like I granted, it's Scott Snyder and Scott Snyder doing what Scott Snyder does, which always to me just feels like I'm gripping the handlebars of some rocket. It feels like flying out of control, and this is no different. Well, I will tell you, this issue did not have as much action as the other ones. It did have a pretty grand betrayal, which was super interesting, and we're getting more backstory, which is nice. Had a good time with it, and I think anyone that's on Noctera is probably enjoying that.
Yes.
There you go. McKay Guerra and Consoni, and we're talking about Magic the Gathering issue number 4. God, is this a good series? Are you reading this? Oh my God, is it good?
Honestly, not really been my portfolio.
Okay, maybe it's not your jam, but it hasn't been my jam in a minute, at least a decade. And let me tell you, God, it's good. They've got just basically leaders of guilds. They're all wizards. And the people of a rather famous town in Magic the Gathering. Is it Ravnica? I think it's Ravnica. I can't quite remember. There's a betrayal. They're trying to get to the bottom where one of their kind has been taken. Meanwhile, it's going to put them on the path with some religious zealots who may or may not have a god backing them. It's wild. And the politics and exchange between people and the way people play and tip their hands, it really does sort of feel like a match of wits. Or maybe just a match of Magic the Gathering. Could be. Anyways, I'm having a really good time with it. And I think anyone who's reading this, even if you don't know the Magic the Gathering lore, which I'm not familiar enough with, you will absolutely have a good time. Now, does that mean jumping on this issue? I honestly think you could and not be too terribly confused. But it's just the way this issue plays out. It really kind of feels like a movie, and I think you'll love it. So just come pick it up. It's great. Next is Vasquez, Gomez, and Albertov, and we're talking about American Chavez made in the USA. Cam, are you reading this?
Yes, I am.
What do you think?
Honestly, dude, it kind of gives me, it's like a light, a lighter version of the Spider-Woman series.
Right? It is. It's a good story, and we're getting her origin story, and there's more to it than we thought. She's got a sister. But the one thing I don't like about this is she's got to inject herself with some glowing serum to, like, understand or to get her memories back. Like, and she's been pushing that for, like, 2 issues now, which that's gross and weird. And we were joking about this, I think, earlier, a couple days ago. But it's like, if you find glowing things in comics, like it'll give you superpowers, it'll restore your memory or something like that. If you find glowing things in real life, you're going to get leukemia. And that's like full stop. So they do that kind of trope here in comics. Well, I was kind of surprised at how this played out and the route they went with that. I still had a really good time. And I want to know what this means for the face of American Chavez from here on out. Like, how does knowing her origin story, how is this going to change her story and her story arc and herself as a character? It's really cool to see. So I had a good time with it. Issue number 4, I think you will too. Honestly, there's no bad books this week, so I don't think there's too many you're going to hear me talk bad about. Maybe onesie, twosie. Next is Tales Told in Techno Horror. What a title that is. I really feel like they put together this entire book for that title. Look at that cover, too. That is an amazing cover. Now, I'm going to tell you, I grew up on the Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horrors, The Old Witch. I can't remember the title for her comic, but I grew up on those comics. Those are my horror gem. And they were told in 4 parts, usually, 3 or 4 stories. And each of the stories didn't necessarily like coincide. They were separate stories, but they all were equally creepy. And this is very similar in that frame. You get 4 creepy stories. I think one of them is very sci-fi and the other ones are just strictly horror, but really did not disappoint. Each one made me kind of go, ooh, that's good. That's putting a tingle down my spine. So I think if you're a horror fan, you will absolutely love this and you should come pick it up for sure. This is probably, I don't ever do a horror pick of the week because we never quite have enough books, but I'm going to say this is my horror pick of the week. And really, maybe it's not my indie pick of the week, but it's close. Next is, well, it's Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson. This is Geiger. If you can't tell from the cover, Jeff Johns has already been pretty overt in the fact that this is Fallout New Vegas. There are people divided in clans living in the casinos of Vegas, and they're all separate themes for the clans, which is it's Fallout New Vegas. But there is a superhero character that is just basically he had cancer and he got too much radiation, and honestly, it's very Deadpool-esque, but he's not quite as witty as Deadpool. But he lives out in the desert, and he's helping a pair of sisters that he's happened upon and trying to save them from the evil clans and stuff like that. This issue in particular is well, it's Mad Max. Jeff Johns is definitely borrowing heavily from other apocalypse materials, and you can kind of tell where he's getting inspired from. But I'm still having a ridiculously good time with it. So Geiger, the art is amazing. The storyline's really fun. But I do not think that this is the issue to jump in on. So if you've been waiting to jump in on Geiger, go back, get a couple back issues. If you can find them. If you can't, come talk to us and we'll get you a second print. But definitely don't skip this. It's amazing. Next is a book I don't really love. Ta-Nehisi Coates, Leonard Kirk, and Matt Mia. Okay.
Is it Cap?
It's Cap. Now, Cap had to deal with an IED going off at Central Park a couple issues back, and that was actually sort of designed to look bad on Cap and to sort of destroy him on social media and stuff like that. And, IEDs are already a sensitive subject for us soldier guys like me and Yogi. I shouldn't say soldier, paratrooper guys. Proper nomenclature. Here's the thing about that. The way they wrap that up, the way they counter Red Skull and his character assassination of Captain America is very 90s sitcom-ish, is what it feels like. I wasn't happy with how it happened. It played out a little weird, and we've kind of seen it before, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I wasn't too blown away by how they wrapped up this particular event. It's okay. So Cap this week, it's an amazing cover. Amazing cover, and I have nothing good. Well, I mean, I didn't like the beginning of this Cap run, but it really picked up, and for a long time, it was nothing but good things to say. This issue just feels like it sort of fell off a little bit. Not terribly happy with how this turned out, and this issue in particular is damaged. Again, that shipping guy just throwing our boxes on its side damaged so many books. Not happy about that either. Next is a Rivers of London story. Has anyone here ever heard of Rivers of London? I didn't think so. Ben Aronovich, Andrew Cartmel, Jose Maria Biroy. This is a strange story. Why is this strange? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Apparently, there are all these books tied to Rivers of London, which they're all graphic novels, and there is a ton of them. And I mean a ton of them. Like I don't know, and novellas. So there's been like regular novels too tied to it. Have never heard of this franchise at all. And it's apparently detective stories where they're trying to solve supernatural stuff. So it's very Jim Butcher type stuff. I didn't hate it. It was like Dresden Files, but told with different people. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. That's what I'm going to say. The art was pretty good. The story was, well, honestly, it was kind of boring. And I can't say that the rest of the titles are like that, but this one in particular was like, it felt more detective than paranormal, which is not really what I wanted in this series when I read that it was supposed to be like paranormal detective. So your mileage may vary. It was okay, in my opinion. I think come pick it up, see what you think, but it doesn't feel like my jam. And then again, I might not actually be the audience that this is written for, so I don't know. You're going to have to come see it. Check it out, see what you think. Next is a book I love, and it might be my indie pick of the week. Let me thumb through real quick, guys. Sorry, give me a second to sort of breathe here and decide if... Yeah, it's my indie pick of the week. This is Sas Milej, and wow, I'm kind of blown away. This is Mammal. I don't know what this story... I didn't know what to expect. Nate, you ordered this. Why did you order this?
Well, I figured my mom might like it.
You figured your mom might like it? I figured you might like it too, actually.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of amazing. So I can't talk about number ones without spoiling a bit of it. I'm going to spoil a bit of it, but believe me when I tell you, I'm not going to spoil all of it. This story centers around a world where people know that magic is real, and there is a very powerful witch living in the area. And there's been a bunch of things going wrong with this particular town, and the witch doesn't want anything to do with it. So one gal is going to go sort of find the witch and bring her around to helping her and maybe helping the village at the same time. So that's the way it is. The way the magic sort of expresses itself is very like, it comes out in like creatures and smoke-like effects. And it looks really cool in the way it's drawn. The storyline's really fun. The dialogue is outstanding. Was not bored. Felt these characters almost crawled off the page. Honestly, we've seen the whole, hey, the world knows there's magic, but they fear this witch thing before. It's a little tropey, yeah, but the way it was done in this was just stellar. I was so excited the whole way through it. Like, I seriously think I went like 2 pages and was like, okay, I'm into this. And by the time I got to the last page, I was like, no, I'm fully on board with this. I might sub to this. So that should tell you a lot. It was really, really good. And I don't think we have a lot of copies. So if you want to get a copy, you're going to need to contact us. But Nate, man, that is a good purchase. I do not think you will be bored with this by any means. It was honestly great. What's up? Winning. All right. Next is Vita Ayala, Paco Medina, and David Curiel, and we're talking about Children of Adam. Now, these were people that were really inspired by mutants, so much so that they pretty much knocked off their brand, and we had a Nightcrawler, a Cyclops. Who else was in here? Do you remember? Gambit. The only thing was most of them were human. I think they were human using they were using tech, right?
No, they were young mutants.
They were young mutants?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Because like they confirmed that several of them are not at one point.
Most of them were young mutants.
But one of them is. So yeah. This is kind of ending with a surprise, but I don't know. This time they actually do team up with the X-Men and have to fight some people who say the cringiest thing ever. So people that are hunting these kids show up and literally say, "My you-men to me."
What? Oh, okay.
The cringe. I still cringe when Cyclops says stuff like that. So for somebody to say a knockoff version of that was really painful. But the comic itself is not painful. I actually have a really good time with it. Cam, are you sub to this?
Yes, I am.
So you're having a good time with it too, right?
Love it.
Love it. Okay. So it is on our shelf. You will love it too. The art is good. The story is good. But hey, did you need more Hellfire Gala in your life?
I don't know.
Because this is going to lead to another Hellfire Gala scene. So I needed more. I thought it was over. And here we're going to get one more Hellfire Gala issue.
Oh, nice.
Dope. Next is Sax, Villanelli, Prianto. Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters. Okay, we're going to get some backstory. Almost too much backstory. What do I mean by that? Well, I like when writers show, don't tell, and there's a lot of telling in this. A lot of, oh, hey, the clans were separated. The bounty hunters and everyone else was separated. Somebody pulled them all together, and now the Crimson Dawn is back, and we're all scared of the Crimson Dawn. Do you know we're scared of the Crimson Dawn? Are you scared of the Crimson Dawn? Are you scared of the Crimson Dawn?
Yes.
Everybody's scared of the Crimson Dawn. How many times do they got to tell us this in this comic, in any of this series? Hey, the Crimson Dawn is involved. We should all be scared. Oh, okay. I get it. You've said it 10 or 20 times now across like a few comics. Let's let it go. You don't need to say it, 4 or 5 times in this particular issue, but that's what they do. And you know what else? I can't stand Valance. Yeah, he's in this a lot. And while I will say that the rescue plan is very Joe-like, if you can't find an exit or an entrance, what do? Make one. Well, it's very Joe-like, but I'm not loving bounty hunters, and I've heard from other folks. We do have a fair share of subscribers, but there are people that fall off on it because they're not feeling it either. And I get it, guys, and I'm hoping it picks up. I mean, it's War of the Bounty Hunters. You figure the Bounty Hunters title would be leading the way, but sadly, it's not. So I told you there were a couple that didn't quite hit. Next is Matteo Pizzolo and Anna Muckracker. I don't know. This is a very... I should probably cover this. It's got some risque art on it, but it's tactically covered. This is called God Killer Tomorrow's Ashes, I think it is. I don't know much about this series. I didn't read the first one, and I got to tell you guys, while the art's really good and the story it was wild and a bit graphic at times, but I still had kind of a good time with it. Coming in on this, even though it's a new story arc, thoroughly confused. So I think if you want to jump in on this one, and maybe you don't have to speed read it, you might do okay. You might do better than me. But I would really recommend you go pick up the last run, go pick up the trade of it, figure out what's going on. I think we have issue 8 that showed up with this, which apparently is some high-dollar book. So clearly there are fans for this series. I'm just going to tell you that if you're going to jump in on this issue, it's a little confusing, and that's all I'm going to say. Now, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it by any means. The art was good. The storyline was wild. It was just a little bit confusing. So that will be on our shelves, and it's by Black Mask. Have you heard anything about Black Mask lately? The imprint? I haven't heard anything from Black Mask. I can't think of anything.
Only thing that pops in my head is Batman.
The Ant-Man villain?
Batman.
Oh, you said, yeah, I was like Ant-Man. You meant Batman villain. He's more of a Red Hood villain these days, isn't he? Yeah. Percy, Casera, Gil, and Guru Effects, and we're talking about X-Force. Now, there's a lot to unpack. X-Force has been dealing with, Quentin's PTSD issues, I think, were the last couple of issues, which were kind of shocking to see. What do you do when a Beyond Omega level mutant is kind of haunted? That's some problems. This one is going to center around Man-Thing and the fact that there are more than one Man-Thing in the world, which if you read that Man-Thing series, kind of makes sense. It kind of does. And I liked how this played out. Like, I can't talk too much about it without spoiling it, But the way the mutants and Man-Thing sort of butt heads it's very understandable and kind of cool. So I had a good time with it. This XForce run it's pretty good actually. The dialogue's funny. I'm not bored with it. Every issue's something different. It's just I didn't expect to see them dealing with Man-Thing of all people. That's kind of odd, but yeah, it makes sense, I guess. Next is Dugan, Laraz, and Gracia, and you know what? Do I make it? No, I don't. No, I don't. Do I? I don't know. It's almost my pick of the week. I'm gonna say it's my pick of the week because otherwise I'm gonna pick Immortal Hulk, and then everyone's gonna go, "Oh yeah, you picked Immortal Hulk again." Okay, look.
I knew it finally get deep wrong.
No.
I mean, it's almost equal. Almost equal. So X-Men by Dugan, my pick of the week. Why? Well, X-Men are building a new location in, New York City of all places, which kind of makes sense. Meanwhile, they've got to deal with an invading alien species sort of tied to something else, and I can't talk much more about it than spoil it. But what I can tell you is what Dugan's doing here has a very, I'm going to tell you flat out, what Hickman did with the whole Paradise and Krakoa and everything was totally different. And Dugan's a really, really amazing writer and writes action well. So what he's doing feels like sort of like a throwback to the Claremont era of you have this team, let's use it to deal with problems. And that's what it immediately throws it into action. And that makes sense with how Dugan writes. He writes action really, really well and dialogue really well. So I had a great time with it, but it felt like, hey, the X-Men are back. Just so you know, the X-Men are back. The team is back. It's changed a little, but it's back. So I had a great time with it. I wasn't bored whatsoever. It felt like a throwback while also feeling fresh. And, there's a problem in a certain world in space, and we've kind of seen it before, but it's getting a little intense. So, yeah, you're going to see. No, it's not the Shi'ar Empire. It's not the Shi'ar Empire. I promise you it's not the Shi'ar Empire.
It involves Soul.
No. But, actually, it kind of references Soul at one point, but it's Soul, the system, but not that character. It's referencing Araco, Planet Araco.
Oh.
But that's not why. You'll see. Next is Johnson, Garcia, Smith, Deering, Poggi, and Guru Effects. This was outstanding. So when I say that it's a hard choice, it really was like a three-way tie here for just best pick of the week. Actually, it was kind of a four-way tie. Anyways, Extreme Carnage, out friggin' standing. Let me tell you, if you are a symbiote fan, Cam, you will love this, Cam. It is just ridiculously cool. Now, we know that some people have been brought back from death. Why have they been brought back? Because there is a symbiote hive. It works pretty much similar to the way the Green Door works, but it doesn't wipe your memory type deal. But all symbiotes, as long as a person has bonded with the symbiote, they will be saved in the hive, so their memory will live on, and sometimes they can come back to life. Well, that's a problem, because who comes back to life? Good old Cletus Cassidy. But who else is back to life?
Oh, can I say it?
You can say it.
Flash.
Flash Thompson, Agent Venom, is back to life. And we're going to see how this plays out. But more importantly, I can't think of if you could think of a worse type of person for Carnage to be tied to. There are two things that I think are the worst types of people for Carnage to be tied to. One is a serial killer, and the other one is a type of person that everybody knows I hate probably the most of any type of person on this planet. Who is that, Yogi?
Karens?
No, not Karens. Certain people in charge of governments.
Oh, politicians and such?
Yeah. So it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. The way it goes is perfect. And I'm sorry if I spoiled some of it for you. But the way it goes is I goes like, ew, and awesome. So you'll have that exact reaction. It's kind of amazing. It also feels very X-Men, very 90s X-Men. And I think they're doing that on purpose. where like the Clintar, the symbiotes are like the new mutants, not the new mutants, but the mutants of the new generation, where like there are politicians campaigning against them, saying they're evil and they're invaders and this and that.
Well, I mean, after the ends of King in Black and Venom 35,
it makes sense that people would be scared of them. So yeah, it's awesome, really good, really good comic. Not my pick of the week. It's still X-Men, still number 1 by Dugan, but it's so close. We had so many ties this week, both DC and Marvel. Next is Goo, Miyazara, and Herring. This is Silk. Now, I'm going to say that I had a really good time with the last 3 issues of Silk. This one, it was pretty funny. You pretty much watch the villains fight, duke it out, and the way it plays out is, I got to tell you that you can be the most wicked and gruesome and cool-looking supervillain, but if you're up against like a young adult with a cell phone and some sort of powered tech tied to it where they can just mess with their cell phone, they're probably going to win. Yeah, we see that play out. It was kind of funny. I had a good time with it. I'm not going to lie. But there wasn't enough Silk in it. There wasn't enough Silk. Cindy Moon?
Yeah.
Cindy Moon. Yeah. I blanked on her name for a second there. Was that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I still remember her name. But there wasn't enough Silk in this issue, and she has been just the star of it. And in fact, if you read a couple issues back, there was an exchange between J. Jonah Jameson and Silk that was really touching. So if you're a Silk fan, you'll be a little disappointed that there's not enough of her in this, but they are fleshing out the story more, and it's still a really fun ride. So yeah, good story. Not close to my pick of the week, but still good story. Next is Kevin Smith. Oh, Kevin Smith worked on this because he's working on the show.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, Rob David, Tim Sheridan, Mindy Lee, Rico Renzi, Darren Bennett. This is Masters of the Universe Revelation. Now, this plays out in very different ways. This isn't the He-Man I knew as a kid. I mean, it's loosely inspired. There are some changes and some liberties taken and good showing. I mean, Kevin Smith needs to do that. Like, if it was just the same story, I'd be bored. The other thing to take away from this is Skeletor's look. Have you seen Skeletor's new look?
No.
Oh my God, is it cool? Now, you're treading on sacred ground when you change Skeletor's look even slightly, but I actually really dug it. It looks cool. You're gonna have to just that alone is worth picking it up. I will say there are more than one power swords in this, and there's kind of a twist on the mythos, and I like the way it went. So a good showing. Not my pick of the week. It's a little close. I mean, it was pretty good. It wasn't quite tied for pick of the week, just under it. Probably the next rung lower, but still pretty good. If you're a He-Man Masters of the Universe fan, you'll probably love it. Next is Clans of Bellary. This is Peter Blackie, Rob Blackie, and Daniel Main. This is Aftershock, and first takeaway, and you can tell from that cover, the art is really cool. And I mean, like, I don't know what style this is, but it sort of pops and kind of walks off the pages at times. So the art's cool. The story is it's wild. It's like spacing clans, and each one there's a lot of politics between them and betrayals and backstabs, and there's some rules that they set in place on the first page that some clans cannot take liberties on, and what happens. And there's an orphan that's sort of tied to somebody who saves her, and it was pretty good. I had a good time with it. I will say the story's it's a little weird. I need to give it another issue before I fully commit to it, but I wasn't bored by any means. The art is just the true star of this comic and really just sold it for me. So I think if you're an art snob like me, you'll probably look at this and have a really good time. So that will be on our shelf. We're coming down to the wire, guys. I'm going to do this book first before I come to the last two. Next is Skybound, issue number 1. What is this exactly? There is Rick Grimes 2000. And he's got a lightsaber? Yeah, it's like Walking Dead crossed with Star Wars is what I think they're
going for. That's right. The next one has Negan on the cover with the bat.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So it's Cyberpunk Walking Dead. That's weird. On top of that, there's a Clementine story, which I understand she's from one of the Walking Dead games. And there's Manifest Destiny, which is an old brand. Well, the old comic brand that's been going for a while. I shouldn't say old. And then there's Ultra Mega. So you're getting like 4 stories. You're getting almost a trade paperback worth of stories. All for, what's the price on this book? $4.99. Man, you're getting a good deal if you pick this up. You are getting 2 Walking Dead stories, so if you're like me and you sort of avoid The Walking Dead, you might not pick this up. But anyone else, I think you have a really good time with this. Plus, you're getting a preview of something that's coming out, and it was fun. We do have some high dollar books. I wouldn't say high dollar, but they're like 10, 15 bucks. Special covers of each one of these stories. So if you want to pick one of those up, come check it out. But it's just Skybound showing off their brands. Next is Jason Aaron Garon, I should say. He's got the dash over the O, and Curiel, and we're talking about Avengers 46 World War She-Hulk. Now, I'm going to say, we knew that the Avengers had like a traitor in their midst, Cam.
Huh?
Do you remember that?
What?
The Avengers have a traitor in their midst. Do you remember? It's been going for a long, long time, and I would be surprised if you remember. I didn't remember this.
Was it wasn't Ghost Rider, was it?
It's the gorilla.
Oh!
Yeah, and that goes all the way back to the Vampire War, which is like, what, 2.5 years back?
Jesus Christ, that was pretty
Oh,
cool.
wait,
That was a long time ago.
Agents of Wakanda?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I don't remember his name. It is Gorilla Man, isn't it?
something like that.
I think it's Gorilla Man. This is his actual name. But he's going to betray the Avengers, and that's going to lead to World War She-Hulk. And it's hard to talk about without spoiling a lot of it, but we're going to see She-Hulk. We're going to see Jen change in a pretty dramatic way, which if you go and look at some of the upcoming covers, you can kind of see. And if you know the Hulk mythos, you kind of see this coming, sort of. But it's cool to see nonetheless. And the implications are, well, I don't know, man. Like, Jen tends to be the tamer of the Hulks in a lot of ways. Like, she tends to have some control, and I think she's going to really lose it because what happens to her is very traumatic and sinister, and it happens from a group that I didn't expect that they would do this, so it's pretty wild. You're going to have to wait and see, but oh, God, is it wicked and cool. I would say don't skip this. It was almost my pick of the week. Avengers this week was outstanding, but I sort of like when things go south and the heroes got to like pick up the pieces after. Next is Ewing, Bennett, Jose, Bravo, and Mounts. Not my pick of the week. I still picked X-Men #1, but such a close second. Oh, God, this Immortal Hulk run has been amazing. Now, we saw last issue something questionable happen. Do you remember, Cam? Have you been reading this?
No.
Oh, okay.
All I remember is that Betty Ross came back?
Yeah. Betty Ross came back, and she was in the Harpy form, and she started hooking up with Joe Fixit, with Gray Hulk in Savage Hulk body, which is very, very strange. Yeah, Hulk smash. The reason it's strange is because while Joe Fixit is a part of Bruce, Bruce himself is separated from Joe Fixit right now, and he's trapped in hell. And it's sort of a weird love triangle that isn't technically a triangle, but is kind of a triangle. And more importantly, they flesh out more of Hulk's dissociative identity disorder. I love these stories, but basically they're tackling. We always knew that the Hulk had a fractured psyche, but they've established that his psyche is really fractured. But at the same time, how it works for him and when it works for him and which parts of his personality are the defenders and which parts of the personalities need to be protected, and it feels good. Like, it's good representation for disability, and it's just for mental health. I shouldn't say disability, but it's good representation for mental health. It's a fun story. Every one of these stories seems to get darker and darker and darker, and yet somehow they pull it out of the fire and make it feel good when things turn around. I love everything Ewing does, and again, Immortal Hulk, almost my pick of the week, but it's really one of my favorite comics. So don't skip it. Pick of the week for Marvel this week, X-Men. Pick of the week for Indy this week. Indy this week was what was that book? Mammal? I couldn't remember the title. And pick of the week for DC this week was what?
Batman Secret Files Signal #1.
Batman Secret Files Signal #1. What's gonna be my actual pick of the week though? That's a tough choice between those.
X-Men. Sorry, I said it.
You want it to be X-Men?
I mean,
We'll make it X-Men. X-Men will be our full-blown pick of the week.
Plenty of copies, so come pick them up.
Anyways, so we are finished. Apparently, we're having issues with YouTube. Teresa just texted us. So if you saw us on Instagram and you saw us on Facebook, great. But YouTube apparently is not getting anything, or is getting choppy stuff. So sorry about that. But we will see you guys next week. That's it. That's all we got for you. Love you guys. It's been a long, long week. Believe me. And end stream.